.5 Sofa FM of 5 minutes after the hour of 11 a.m. in Sofa Solution, of course, the Eastern Caribbean. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am here with the second edition with Mr. Johnson, Charlo, Simon. Immense pleasure. And of course, I must say congratulations to you. I wasn't sure if I am supposed to be the one to put that on, but congratulations to you on your scholar. Well done.
Thank you.
Perseverance, determination, and now you have excelled. For persons who may not know who you are, for the first time seeing your face, present a short bio, and maybe just walk us through how tedious those months were for you, actually.
Hi, good morning, Sufre, and good morning, Miss Epifan, and thank you for having me on the program. I am from the community of Sufre, born in Diamond, lived here my whole life, participated in numerous community activities, started at 16 Dragon Productions, Dance Group, entertainment, sports. But I'm just someone from the community, from humble beginnings, as everyone else. We've come from a background. The community of Sufre historically has been a community that's really bounded together when it matters, whether through sports, academia, or whatever it may be. So I'm just really happy to be from the community of Sufre. In terms of the short description you gave on the academic program, I just recently graduated from Glendale Community College in California. After my time there, I earned an associate in economics, an associate in business administration, and an associate in liberal arts for social and behavioral science, which deals with a lot of youth and community, how people think and behave, and how to basically engage and solve problems. Basically, that's a briefing on it. But basically, I'm just proud to be from Sufre, and I want my community, as with everyone else, to excel.
Thank you so much for that. In a nutshell, tell us what really inspired you to actually establish the Michael Yatar Sports Foundation?
A very good question. I mean, in life, in every generation, there are these special people who come along, whether it's in health, sports, politics, community development. You have these unique people with unique talents, and Michael Kazubo was one of these people. I mean, there are persons within the community who are more versed in his more detailed life about him. But for me, growing up as a young man, a sportsman, he did a lot in organizing youth and sports, from not just tournaments, but we had debates. We had overseas trips where he took clubs to the Virgin Islands, to community development. He assisted so many people on a private and personal level, even for his company. I think it was CIE. He employed a lot of people at the various construction sites that he was employed at. And unfortunately, we lost him in 2011 suddenly. And I remember that night, I was with him that night. We just came off a meeting and we sat by court. We spoke for a few minutes and he told me he was going home. His driver came pick him up. And then the next morning I was going to work. And then I was walking down the street by hospital, next to the hospital, and I saw a group of persons. And I remember asking my cousin what's happening there. And he told me they had just brought him in. So I was like, I'm going to work. I hope he makes it. And he was like, no, he did not make it. So now that was a shock and a great loss for the community. And I felt in discussion with lots of people. I mean, Mr. Regis was just on the show, Mr. Kendall Alexander, Mr. Richard Jum, Mark Henry, Sylvester Regis. There's just too many persons to mention. We've been in contact for a long time trying to see how can we do something to really honor him in the any way possible. And that's how we came up with the Michael Yatar Sports Foundation, to carry on that legacy. And I didn't want it in my name because I'm not deserving of it. I mean, he's done too much, so I felt like as a community, we needed to do something for him.
Thank you so much. But in your thoughts, how does his legacy continue to influence the foundation's work?
Yes, as with any organization, the pillar of the organization sometimes carries the name. If you put in, let's say, if I was to do the Johnson Simon Foundation, even if I put out the money, like people would be like, oh, compared to other persons in the community, you've not gone to that level. So it was most deserving to have it in his name, and I think it has a more community buy-in when people hear Yata, because Yata is one of these people who's well loved. All the generation, those who grew up with him, even after his death, people, when you hear the name, the young people, and you speak to people and they talk about him, you feel that level of inspiration. And I can tell you, if those who did not grow up in the generation of the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s before his death, when we used to have sports at that stadium, not taking anything from the current organizers, they're doing a great job, in the various fields of sport. But when Yata, Michael Kazobo was the president of Youth and Sport, or he ran football, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you'd already have the surrounding areas around the field already filled with people anticipating the 4 o'clock match. People are there in advance. And when you stood on the sidelines, it was so packed that as a little boy going to the field, you had to like poke your head in between the adults to try to get a view of the field. And he used to have these soccer rummers like on a Sunday, would have a full day of sports at the stadium. And it was just brilliant. Cricket, same thing. Track and field, whatever it was. And of course he had a supporting team with him, but with his leadership, we had a really great um, 10 to 15, 20-year period of him he's managing a sport, which was really good. And I think that's what prompted myself and the others within the organization to say, let's make this happen. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to hear that. And now let's talk about the upcoming sports
Yeah.
tournaments.
Yes. Originally, the date we were planning for was August 1st and 2nd. But unfortunately, there's a lot happening within the community on these particular dates, lots of private carnival events, also some other community events. So unfortunately, we had to move it forward in order to get an ideal date where we could get as much participation as possible. So hence we've moved it up to the 18th and 19th of July, which is next weekend. And we're looking to do it in the community of Fort St. Jack. And the title for it is the Champions Summer Tournament. And like I said, at the Fonse Jacques playing field and court, and we're looking at sporting events such as cricket, football, and netball. We also have basketball slated on the calendar, but in Font St. Jacques, we don't have an official basketball facility. So basketball will happen the succeeding weekend or 2 weeks later at the Soufre basketball court. So we're working with some of the basketball organizers to get it structured and give us a date, and then we'll advertise it as soon as we have a date confirmed. So we're looking at a start time from about 10 a.m. just to get the music flowing, people start gathering, and we're looking at starting anywhere between 10 and about midday, or based on there's a heat wave. So we're looking at monitoring the weather.
So, how can teams or individuals register for this activity?
Yeah, this activity, since it's a community activity to get the young children and also the youth and even the seniors engaged in some kind of fun summer activity, we've taken the decision to have it free of charge. So there'll be no cost for registration, because we want as many persons to participate regardless of the age group. So we've placed the registration free of charge. But there will be trophies for first place, second place, and third place, along with medals and prize money available for the participants.
What does it really mean to you to have such an activity again in the honor of the deceased?
Yeah. Um, what it means is that, like, when you leave, not to say anything about myself, but when you live outside of Sufra or St. Lucia, you witness different things that gives you different ideas. And what's going on there is not my idea; it's a group discussion, and we came up with the concept. Um, but the school that I work at, we every year we have this annual sports tournament, and it's open to any school, any group, and then you register, and it's open to all age groups, and there's no registration fee, and you could come and participate in any sport that you want. It's just like a fun day. So I think that's kind of where the concept came from, and in California, it's really nice because the parents come with their chairs, they sit and they watch their children play. They're not expecting their children to win every game, but just the socialization of going there and having fun. So I think that's a real concept. Later on, we're going to look at a more formal event in the succeeding months. But for the summer, we wanted to do a nice fun sports day for the youth.
Thank you so much, Mr. Simon. Permit me to ask you what objectives you hope to achieve from such a tournament.
I mean, the objective is simple. Sometimes in life, we don't try to complicate things too much and make it um, too detailed. But if we really look at, unfortunately, what has transpired in Sufre over the past few months, and we can even go back as to the past few years, with the crime problem. Unfortunately, crime is something that you cannot predict. The police cannot say who's going to commit a crime at what location. Neither can a government really say this crime is going to happen, so we're going to stop it. So I think as persons who live in the community, even if you're not from Soufrière, but you don't want to wake up every morning and hear there's another shooting or somebody stabbed someone and you have to attend the funeral. So we're hoping with this program that we could try to re-engage the youth. After today, we'll be meeting with some partners and sponsors to have a more detailed discussion on what's going to happen after the sporting event. But really, we just wanted to do something as an organization to give the youth something to come, an event to come and socialize and participate in.
Okay, well, with that being said, how has it been received from community and even organizations as well?
Yeah, our organization has been received really well. I mean, last year when we came down and we did the launching, we had attendees from various organizations at the event, and we also had there's just regular community persons who came in to support, and we've made some strategic partnerships, small, but we have two couples, no, at least one couple from the US who has pledged support to our organization. And then, like I said, the last time I was on the show, I was on the show virtually, is that if we try to do things on our own, then we carry the burden. But sometimes as a community, let's say the Super Action Theater is having a theater workshop, like a 1 week theater workshop. Who's to say that 88.5 cannot go there and just do a 30-minute public speaking part of that workshop? Or then we as soccer coaches or teachers can come there and say how to deal with conflict, a 30-minute thing. So I think the more resources we can, whether financial or human capital, that we could put into one basket and say, how do we work together to ensure that this community succeeds? So I think that's what we really need as a community. Yeah.
What are you looking forward to the most? What are you most excited about?
What am I most excited about? In terms of the organization, I think just being an added support to the already established community groups. So you have the Sports Council, Football League, Super Foundation, SAT, the Education Office, all the already established committees, we're not trying to rewrite the script and say, hey, we're going to come and take over this spot or take over this activity, but rather to say, hey, if we have this resource and you have this resource, how can we put it together and come up with a concept that will work for our community? So I think what I'm most excited about is future partnerships, and to ensure that at least we don't see another situation in Soufrière like what we've seen in the last few years. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you kindly. Are you a firm believer that positive energies can be channeled through the sporting disciplines?
Yes. 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 So if we look at, if we go on a national level or even not international, you see Julian Alfred. Before Julian Alfred, we had Ginil Vite right here in Soufrière. Ginil Vite was, for almost a decade or more, the most prominent female athlete of St. Lucia. And she was right there from Soufrière. And with her, you had a whole group of young girls who came to the field every afternoon to learn to run. And now you have Julian Alfred. There's another generation that she's going to inspire, just as Michael Casaubon inspired a group of leaders within Soufrière to take up the mantle to become club presidents, um, youth and sports presidents, or just serve in any capacity within the community. I mean, these are the kind of impact that we want. We want leaders, and it's not about having any degree or any social status, because everyone can, or anyone can have an impact on a community. So we want a group of positive leaders to emerge from the community, could help us develop. Yeah.
What can persons expect after the tournament?
After the tournament, what you can expect is that we'll be working closely with the Youth and Sports Council and the Football League and the other organizations that I mentioned previously, to establish more structured programs. So with the Youth and Sports, we're in the planning phase. We're supposed to have it somewhere around December last year, a club development workshop that the Sports Council is putting up, and we're partnering with them to help get it through. So even if you're not a member of a club or a president, you can come to the workshop and learn how to do minutes of a meeting, how to do public speaking, how to be in an environment where you share ideas, and even if someone disagrees with your ideas, how do you receive that feedback? Because that's all the things that the youth need to learn. How to deal with disappointments. And most times, sometimes with the crime situation, it's not that people intentionally go out there say, I'm going to commit a crime today, but it's disappointment, maybe with their case not being heard, or a conflict with someone, and they just don't know how to handle that current situation, and they lash out, whether physically, through the gun or whatever, and we end up with a crisis. So I think if we could have these structured programs, like every September we know this workshop is happening, every October we know this tournament is happening, then the youth now can look forward to these events and plan and say, okay, I'm going to go to that summer program, I'm going to go. So that's what we're looking at moving forward.
Thank you. And in detail, tell us of the summer program also in the pipeline, and even to that, how those are going to be, evaluated, monitored, the longevity of those.
Yeah. So one thing I forgot to mention in the start is that Coach Vern, I'm sure you've heard of her. Coach Vern, she does the coaching with the Font-Saint-Jacques Sports Club. I think they recently won the tournament, and they've been doing really good throughout the last year and couple years. She'll be also running a netball camp out in Font-Saint-Jacques from the 13th to the 18th. So that's next week, Monday through to the Friday. So that's part of the partnerships that we have. Also, we're looking at doing a 1 week how to play cricket camp that Mr. Kiefer Prosper will be facilitating. And then we also will be introducing tennis. We're currently in conversation with the National Tennis Association. We have some tennis equipment coming down. So we'll be doing like an introductory how to play tennis camp. It will be like a free hour from 9 to 12, and it will run every Saturday. Due to the timeline, we won't be able to do it for the 4 Saturdays as planned, but we'll be looking at the last 2 Saturdays of July. And then the intention is post summer is to have it as an after school program within Soufre. The Tennis Association has given that confirmation that they want to bring tennis to Soufre. Yeah, so we're not trying to do everything on our own, but we're trying to have these partnerships where we could get things organized and done within the community.
Thank you so much. You want to provide the details in terms of the summer programs, when and how persons could register, and if it's at any cost to the public as well.
So, like I said earlier, the summer program, we don't have a registration fee, or we don't have a registration deadline. It's a fun day activity on the 18th and 19th in Fonzenjac. So we will accept registration on the day. If persons want to register prior to the event to confirm their participation, they can do that also. They can reach out to me. I'll provide the number before I leave, and then they can do that. But basically, they can register on the day of the event.
Someone is asking, how does the program help me as a young person to develop my skills?
Yeah. So in terms of youth development, traditionally we've had a lot of sporting activities within Soufre, but I think the addition we need is the in-house training of our youth. Like as I mentioned earlier, social skills, socialization is a very important skill that young persons need to have, because everything a child learns from 5, 6, 9, 10, remember that child eventually one day will become an adult. And how does that child cope with the pressures of life? Because when you're a child, you have no bills, nothing, everything is done for you. But when you become 18 or 16, you leave secondary school, it's a different reality when you get there into the open world. So as an organization, we don't want to focus just on the sporting aspect of the foundation, but also the communal and social aspect of it, the in-house training, coaching training. If we have to do parent workshops, partner with the school or a psychologist or a therapist to do parent child workshops, all these programs, these are things we're looking for partnerships. So if there's any community groups or professionals out there who want to partner with us, you could contact us. I'll provide an email address and a phone number, and you could call us and we could put together workshops.
Thanks. In your opinion, how do you think the foundation and even maybe the program can assist young persons in terms of the difficulties they navigate?
Yeah. As with any other person, let's say everyone wants a social space where they feel welcome, accepted, and they could express themselves and feel safe within that environment. And a child is no different. Even us as adults, we have our insecurities, we have issues that still haunt us from our childhood, and we wish there were certain organizations, programs, or even assistants that could have helped us excel and succeed even better. So one of the things we're looking at is if we can mold this upcoming generation to take advantage of these opportunities. Because there's one thing I always say, talent without opportunity is wasted talent. You can be the best cricketer if you stay in Soufre and you don't make it on the international stage. Only Soufre will know your name. You can be the best public speaker. If you don't go out, then people see you speaking, then so talent plus opportunity is what we want. So the youth within the community, you have a skill, a talent, an idea, a recommendation that you think can benefit your community. You need an avenue where you could get that idea to flourish. So the community groups out there, if you have a program, anything that you want to partner with, we believe that we should get our youth engaged in these activities as young as possible, and also provide the avenue where they could use that skill later on in life.
I agree as well. And then we have to actually bear in mind that the young people, they're the future generations as
Yeah.
well. With that, do you think enough emphasis has been placed, or even much has been done as far as our youth is concerned? As much as, again, all those programs are there, if persons do not apply or change the mindset, sometimes it's not going to be of much, use or fulfillment
Yeah.
to them as well.
Yeah. Um, and it's not a problem that lies with one sports council or one government. It's been a problem that we've had for generations. It's something that carries on. So I think in terms of, let's say, if you look at sports in St. Lucia, how far can you go as a sportsman playing sports within the boundaries of St. Lucia? So as you've seen with the Arsenal deal that was advertised, we need this kind of overseas partnerships. You have a group of cricketers from Soufre who are really talented, under 19, under 15. What do you do with them? Do you let them play for Soufre Compre their whole life, graduate, and go and work construction? Or do you come in and say, whether as a government, as a Soufre Foundation, Sports Council, the four of us are going to come together and we're going to see where we could get funding, see where there's an overseas academy, send them every year on a summer program to get recognized by the West Indies Cricket Board, and then they have a better chance to make it to the West Indies team. They could earn a salary, and get more promotion. Same thing for football, acting, drama. You have Super Action Theatre doing the theatre, which is a great skill, because basically what Super Action Theatre is doing, it has a cultural component, but actually there's a very important skill that you develop in there. You develop in public speaking, stage present, confidence, and in all, the final result that you get is that you're acting on stage, you're a performer. So how do we partner with Software Action Theater to get these kids when they're 8, 19? Because remember, you're living in St. Lucia right now. At some point that in your life, you may go overseas. When you go to overseas, what skills are you bringing overseas that's going to help you survive? So if you have a group of actors from the Super Action Theatre Academy, you partner with some overseas group, they come down, provide support. When these kids reach 18, 19, and they want to transition to the UK, the USA, they now could confidently apply for an acting role. They could confidently apply to join the academy, become a sportsman, be a coach, be a public speaker. So I think these are the areas that we have to look at. How do we get our people? Because there's a limit on employment that we can provide in St. Lucia. So you need to prepare some people where they could transition out of the island, succeed, and then come back and help the community.
Thank you for that. And let me now target you as the founder as well. And of course, with your academic achievements, how do you plan on elevating community and individuals?
Sorry, can you repeat that question? Sorry.
Welcoming you back with your academic excellences and background, how you plan on contributing to community impact and individuals as well.
Yeah. I try not to talk about myself because I'm just a country boy from Diamond, son of a farmer. I grew up with no running water in the house in Diamond, no electricity, no TV. Um, we grew up doing homework under the lamp. You had to do homework before 6 o'clock, working on the farm, picking mangoes. So no matter where my journey takes me, I will never forget where I'm from. And my story is not unique. There are many people within Sufra and St. Lucia who have the same story and they've excelled in life. And I think the main thing is that when you make it out or you've succeeded, do you continue moving forward and driving the car forward with only you in the driver's seat? Or do you look back and say, who did I leave down in the community who needs to get to the next city?
Oh,
and
well,
go
that
back with your
hair
vehicle and say,
is a
hey,
sad thing. That's a
let's
sad
go with me.
reality.
You can make it also. So what I would say in short is that, um, despite my academic achievement, it has not been a flurry of roses going through. I've suffered, sadness through unemployment, loss of family, feeling that, who are you to make it, and almost giving up. There's a lot of challenges that myself and ordinary people have gotten along the way. But the main thing is that I would say to anyone is that don't look for validation from outside. If you have confidence in yourself and you believe that you have a role to play in society, whether it's in your family life, your friends, your going to public life, you know, your contribution is not limited by education, social status, or how much money you have in the bank. It's when you close your eyes in that moment when God calls you, the main thing that you want to know is that you've lived a good life and you've helped someone along the way. You cannot save everyone, but at least you could help others along the way. And Bob Marley said it in his song, "Why not help each other along the way?" And that's what I intend to do with my education in any way I can.
Thank you so much. While I sit here and I can agree with you, we know there are so many selfish persons who definitely only want to help themselves and would continue to downpress other persons, especially if they see their potential as well. They just continue to trample on you. But victory would come one day. I surely believe in that. And we have Kendall Alexander saying, I am thankful to have had the opportunity to interact with this young man. He is truly passionate about youth development and is deeply committed to making a positive impact in his community. I wish him every success. As he continues to inspire and uplift those around him. And that took us right to the point we were just discussing. Anderson Hans, well said, bro. Bryanson Stackarts, good morning also to you as well.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. Yeah, and as I did in my Facebook post, it took me a month. I said I was not going to post anything, but someone tell me, I think, said to me, I think you should just at least do one post. And as I mentioned, in every conversation, whether it's in the classroom or in the workplace at the school that I work, at McKinley School, I always speak about Sufre. When I speak to my students in the class and they ask me, "Where are you from?" I said, "I'm from Sufre." And they ask me, "Where is it?" And I play videos of Sufre and I show them pictures of the house in Diamond. I don't show them a nice, fancy house. I show them pictures of the house that I want, the little wooden house in the countryside. And I show them that to inspire them, that because they themselves and their parents go through different issues. You're just like everyone else. And I say to them, if I can make it into the classroom and become a teacher, if I can make it here and succeed, then you have no reason to tell me that the school work you're doing there is hard. And if people understand where you've come from, and you give them the authentic life, it inspires them better. Because a boy on the block, when he sees me drive with a car, he said, "Oh, go boss passe." But he doesn't know the story of carrying water from the Wasco thing there with your bucket, bare feet, from the waterworks in Diamond. That's why I used to carry water from the waterworks in Diamond. You have your two buckets, my brother, my nephew, my sister. We're there like in a little ant line carrying water up the hill, almost a mile carrying water. And we did that for almost 18 years. Up until I left secondary school, graduated, and we're still carrying water. So, people have to understand where you are in the current moment. Don't think of what I don't have, because one thing I always said to my students, I never look down on my parents. I never look down on anybody who's going through poverty or is struggling, because I know what it is. And my dad always told me one thing. He said to me that stayed with me. He said, "Charlo, understand where you are. I'm giving you the what you need to survive. I cannot give you everything, but I'll give you what you need to survive: housing, an education, love, and care. And if we could teach our children to understand these four components, I think we'll be bringing a new generation that will be very beneficial to our society.
That's a point well noted, definitely. And let me just expand actually
Yeah,
to say with that, children now and those devices, it is just chaos,
yeah,
it's distraction,
yeah,
it is taken away from even the self worth.
yeah.
And we tend to see everything on social media. Nothing now is personalized. So, with you coming from humble beginnings and actually being able to share that story, how it actually manifested to you sitting here now with your accolades, and yes, I have earned it. Persons should now sit and question themselves, who are we? What do I want out of life? Where do I go? Should I continue to just sit in the struggles, or do I get up and brush off and put my best foot forward?
Yep.
And you keep speaking of your students. I want to ask you definitely, how do you continue to encourage them? How do you keep them grounded? Do you Are the little ones easily fall into the societal pressures, the cyberbullying, and so many social ills? How do you do it on a day to day?
That's a very good question. When I started working at the school 3.5 years ago, I remember I can't mention names because of privacy, um, but there was this one child I remember coming in, and he was stammering and he was having seizures in the class, and his mom was really struggling with him. And when he first joined, the very first class I had was grade 1, and none of the students wanted to sit next to him because they thought he was strange. Oh, I don't want to sit next to him. And I had to do a whole classroom briefing, and I said to them, "You saying that you don't want to sit to him. If I say I do not want you in my class, or I don't want to sit next to you, how do you feel?" He said, "I will feel sad." So I said, "That's how he feels." So what I did not isolate them. I said to them, I put a price chart on the wall, and I said, if every day one of you sit next to him and be kind to him, you'll earn a prize on the board. So we're authorized to have little snacks and candies or stickers in the class. And that's how I got them to appreciate and be with him. And it's been a total transformation. I've had my students for like majority of 3 years. I've had the same students. Some go to upper grade, but now all of them play together, socialize, they're best friends, and sometimes that's how society sees you. Society sees you as the outcast because you're poor, or you're from a certain family background. And like I said earlier, persons need to understand it's my journey. I can be your father, but I will not be your father forever. At some point, I'm going to leave the earth, and you have to figure out how to survive. I may be your mother, your brother, but I won't be there your whole life. So, teaching children how to be empathetic from a very young age. My students, when they came in, good morning, good afternoon, how are you? Can I help you with with your homework? How are you doing today? These were not everyday conversations that my students were having, but coming from a Seventh-day Adventist background, Sufi background, you walk down the street, you have to greet everyone you see. No matter what the age, 80, 90, 10, you say good morning, good afternoon. You walk into a store, you say the same thing. So I was able to teach my students how to be empathetic and kind. Good morning. Before they come, they say good morning to me. I have to say good morning. Good morning, John. How you doing? How's your day? Have you had lunch? Have you had breakfast? And they will tell you what's going on with them even before they get into the classroom, because a lot of children act out and we think they're really bad behaved kids, but there's a lot of social issues, emotional issues that go on in the household or during the regular school time that they deal with. So the way I look at life is put yourself in everyone's shoe and treat everyone equal.
Okay.
Yeah.
if you were to add to that as well, how do you plan on, implementing such a techniques with the foundation?
Yes. So as I said earlier, we're not focusing on we're not going to focus just on sports. We want strategic partnership. The Youth and Sports Council is a very important group within the SUFRE community as well. Start with the culture and then the football, and then you have the district education office 88.5. We need to sit together, maybe form some kind of, it can be a temporary committee that just meets and say, hey, we're going to put a series of workshops together for the community, spanning these various areas within the community that we think needs attention. And how do we fund it? The government, private donations, SRDF, and we make it happen. But as a community, we need to decide, where do we want the next generation to go, and because we don't want another lost generation. We don't want to wake up in the morning and hear at night hear gunshots firing, and tomorrow morning we hear someone died. Because the last two killings that we had, unfortunately, um, it hit me really hard. I've not said that the first time I've said. I've only said to a couple of my friends. But when I heard that the Simon from Kayson was killed in Barron's Drive, I mean, I was in class when I got the news, and I I had to walk out of the classroom, and I told my professor I need to go home. And I took like 3 4 days off because I had like a headache for like 5 days. I could not believe that we had that murder. And then after that, we had Gromag Zone at the stadium. And it's just been a constant struggle. That 2 weeks was very hard on me. And as I imagine, the community and their families was really struck. And before that, we had Anthony and we had Hank from Palmis. And these are the things that we were discussing earlier. How do you get the community to not get to that point where we have to experience? Because today it's somebody's family, tomorrow it might just be you walking down the street. You may have a slight disagreement with someone, and their retaliation might be, gas a monsieur insulté moi, monsieur dit moi pas mêlé, moi pas bon $20. N'a pas gonna tuer monsieur. People make simple rash decisions like that, simple issues. And a lot of these the young people who end up in crime, they were best friends, lime together, work together, drunk together, and one disagreement or few disagreements, and we end up with a war. So we're hoping that as a community we could get some sort of solution.
Okay. Jan Gustav at Highlights on Harvey Talium. Amen, bro. During your stay here, what impact would you like to, what legacy would you like to leave? What impact would you like to create? I mean, during your time on island, because I wasn't saying during your time on Earth.
I mean, in life, you go through life, and you think of what is important to you. You know, every time I come back to Saint Lucia, I don't go stay in any hotel or any get. I go straight back to Diamond in a little house, and that's why I stay. That's my peace of mind. And in terms of our community, our country, what we want people to appreciate is the essentials of life. What is important? Treating everybody equal, helping someone, being kind to others, and don't think that just because you have succeeded that someone should not succeed. You know, we have a culture of not wanting others to succeed. It doesn't matter to me if I have a business and a guy has a business, the same business down the street. Why can't we come together and say, okay, you have a restaurant, I have a restaurant. Let us put an ad together, and we'll put $100 each and promote both of our restaurants. And this Saturday you do bouillon. Friday night I'll do sauce, and both of us can sell. Why do we have to fight? It doesn't matter how many people have the same thing as you. Help each other along the way. Because in my life, a lot of people have helped me, from teachers to my friends, my family. And when you go out of St. Lucia, you're not in the comfort of your friends or family. You're there with total strangers in a world that you don't know about. And when you get there, you want people to treat you equal. You don't want them to see, oh, you're from St. Lucia, a poor Caribbean country. You want them to see you as an equal. And even in my classroom, like when I went to school, in the mainly the we had this course called African American Experience. And I remember during that course, they were talking about the African American struggle within America. And when I contributed to that class, I told them about people like Bob Marley, John Compton, George Charles, Kenny Anthony, Clem Bob, people within the Caribbean and St. Lucia who are pillars in African development, but you won't hear it in America. You hear about the Martin Luther Kings and all these people, Marcus Garvey. A lot of the students in America had not heard of Marcus Garvey, who actually helped a lot of African Americans on the New York side, New York, New Jersey, that side of the Black Star Line. So we as a people, we have a lot to contribute, and we've contributed a lot, and it's up to us to decide where we want to go, how do we want to go, get there. If you have the biggest house on the hill, your son or daughter, I live in a poor house down the street, broken down roof, rat infested, drugs, prostitution. I have two sons, you have your daughter. Both of them go to Sufre Primary. Just because you've succeeded and have your Mercedes Benz and your big house on the hill gated, where does your child go to school? They go to school at the same, let's say, for example, the same Sufre Primary. If my child, through lack of public assistance, is impoverished and has learned bad habits throughout his life, when he interacts with your child, what is he going to teach her? You think he's going to say, let's go learn about math? He's going to bring that child into that same culture that they used to. So just succeeding is not enough. You have to ensure everyone around you that you can help succeed. You have the big house on the hill, but ensure others where you can assist can reach some level of stability. Because it's not enough for you only to succeed. Everyone around you must have some sort of success, no matter what it is.
Thank you so much. I wish everybody had that very same mindset. The world would have been a better place, and even a lot of organizations would have been a better place as well. Even with that, how do you keep encouraged?
I,
We know the fight down is always there.
yeah. I think the most important thing for me, and I try to do it with my young son,
Are
is
you
that,
spiritually grounded?
yeah, knowing where I've come from, there was no luxury around. I remember when I used to want to play football, my parents would never spend $150 to buy me a football boots. Who did I borrow it from? I borrowed it from T. Francis, Kiefer, because their shoe size seemed like me short fit. Because my parents would not buy it for me. Because it's not that they did not want to buy it, but food on the table and education was more important than spending 150. And then when we went to school, our notebooks, I had a notebook that I would get. So my sister Kirana, she was in Form 5. Matthew was after, Kenneth was after, and I was the last. So in terms of uniforms, the uniform would pass down, like the secondary shirt or the primary school shirt would pass down from my sister. My brothers would wear it, and I would get the last. By the time I got it, it was all faded with tiered pockets. When I went to secondary school was the same thing. I was in Form 1 and they were all ahead. So by the time I got the school pants and the shirt, it was the secondary school is maroon. By the time you get it, it looks brown. And the notebook, a notebook had 3 or 4 subjects. Every 20 pages, you fold the sheet and you write maths. The next one you fold it, you write social studies. So I know what life is, how life, has simplified what is important to you. So now that I'm an adult, I've had some sort of success, not anything grand, but I cannot be in America and every time I come to St. Lucia and just coming on vacation, whatever I get that I can bring down to donate, and some organization or someone can use it, I will do it. And whoever I can help, I will help. And I'm not alone. There are many people within persons within the community who have done this for years. You have Melissa Alexander Foundation, Kendall Alexander, Raymond Regis, Yatar. There's so many persons within the community who Miss Eusebia Jean Baptiste, Clem Bob, who have been doing these things for years. So it's not nothing new that I'm doing. I'm just like playing my part because I know what I've gone through, and I can't be ignorant or pretend that I don't know what poverty is or what a struggling man encounters. So I think that's what keeps me grounded. You know.
Do you think the cries of the young people are being heard? Do you think enough is being done by government agencies, politicians, to help and support? And even I'm happy you made a mention of Julian Alfred, but sometimes you have to step out to be recognized. She's
Yeah.
now getting all that publicity because actually, she has put in the work and become someone famous. But
Yeah.
before, she wasn't ringing the bells.
That's right.
So sometimes it's just the hypocrisy of our
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, and sometimes there's a phrase that says you won't be a king in your own country or something like that. And unfortunately, that's what you must do. You must leave the shores and experience something new.
Yes.
Gain experience, insight, and then come back and implement it, or you make it on the world stage. And that goes back to the point that I made earlier. We have our young people participating in sports, drama, theater. It's
True.
it's now up to the private sector, government, organization like the SRDF and these other um, statutory bodies to come in and say, what can we do to help these young people excel, whether within the shores of St. Lucia? And if we cannot provide what they need, how do we get them out of St. Lucia onto the world stage where they could excel? Because who's to say we could not have had a Michael Jordan right there? We had so many great basketballers within the shores of Soufrière, football players, cricketers. Who's to say if we had a more structured sporting system within St. Lucia that these players could not have made it on the international stage 20, 30 years ago? Malcolm Victorin, we know him in Soufrière as ATT. I've always said, when I speak to soccer players in America, the football players actually, the young children, they ask me who's better, Messi or Ronaldo, and I always say to them the best football player I've seen in my life was Michael Attiti Victorin from Palmis.
No
That was
idea.
the greatest footballer I've seen in my life, right there in Soufrière. I used to watch him as a young child, and the things he used to do on a playing field. Not Messi is great, Ronaldo is great, but to me, that's my number one football player I've seen in my life because he was the most skillful I've seen. But unfortunately, talent without opportunity and focus. So that's what really, yeah.
And your thoughts to that, and you engage that conversation when I had the Suffolk Kings on my platform as well.
Yeah.
And sadly, they lost to the Bonte Blazers. And their plea is that they have been asking for an indoor facility and to no avail. And it is one of the things definitely they believe that affects when after a day to day on the job and the traveling to cafes to actually play those games physically, it drains
It
you.
drains you, right?
Mentally, it puts a damper on you. So this is something they would love to see come to fruition. And I'm saying maybe if it can happen under that foundation as well, I think they would be immensely proud.
Yeah, yeah. Because our next step, and that's very important because basketball, if it rains, you have to cancel the game. It's not like football; you could play in the rain. So an indoor facility for them would be ideal. Um, the next step for us in terms of the foundation, the way we can assist along with any other private entity within Saint Lucia or abroad, is to look at in terms of the structure of basketball, how before we get to the indoor facility, what structures can we put? Because the indoor facility can be immediate, but based on costing, it may be 3 to 5, maybe a 10-year plan. We would love for it to be immediate, but then it won't happen immediately. But in the meantime, what can we do to help the basketballers? Maybe after school program where they get a stipend to teach children how to play basketball. That can be good. And then during that period, you're also working on the indoor facility, you know, because I think that's what we need. The indoor facility would be great for them.
Okay, he doesn't want to, but at this time, I just want to acknowledge Mr. Kendall Alexander. Good afternoon to you, sir. It's always good to acknowledge notaries. I just need you just a quick sec to engage in the conversation as well. Yes, because he did speak about the after school program, so I just want your thoughts in there. We're awaiting your thoughts, please, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
We respect your wishes. He will communicate at the soonest possible time. Thank you so much for that. But we acknowledge your presence nonetheless. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, and kind of lost my train of thought for a while, but what I wanted to say when you asked the question about the basketball was that the next step for us is to um, get to the ministry, go to the ministry and make it official, registration with the Ministry of Youth Development and get the certificate. And in that way, it empowers us to write, to get grants. So there's an organization that support community groups with whether it's sporting equipment, financing for program, we now can apply for these grants, whether it's in America, St. Lucia, wherever. But yeah, so that's the next step for us is to make it official, and then and if we apply for funding, it doesn't mean that that funding remains within our organization. Like we said earlier, if there's a community group, so for Action Theater or the schools want to partner on a program, that funding can also be used to help support that program. Yeah, so it's not just about us and what we want to do. It's more about partnerships, and then yeah.
Just thank you so much for that. Just retracking in our first discussion where we were joining virtually, you did make mention to, well, you outlined a few projects you really, really wanted to see in the short to long term. If you have a clear view, maybe you can just share with our listening audience as well.
I'm not sure I can recall everything. It was sometime last year. But I think one of the things that we discussed during that time, and that was the initial concept when we started. It's still the same concept, but if everything you plan and then it doesn't always go as planned, so you have to do a little bit of tweaking here and there. So the initial concept of the foundation was to have the sports program, whether after school or on a Saturday, Sunday morning, and then we have a group of coaches. When we initially started, we were focused on football, but then we realized that we need to go into, because Yatar was not just about football. There are multiple sports, social programs, workshops, and all that. So what we're going to do over the next few months is put it together in an official calendar and work with community groups in between there and create a calendar. It can be a 3-month calendar, quarterly, and then as we go along, we expand till we get to an annual calendar. But that was the initial concept, to have like an almost like an after school where the kids can come and engage, and also the coaches could come and get training, because we do have equipment and supplies that the coaches can engage in and use, also literary material that they can use also.
Yes, and then I think I did challenge you as well to speak to. It would be nice to have a few paraphernalias as well.
Yeah.
For persons.
Yeah. So all that, will make note of it, and then we'll see how we can make it happen. Yeah.
4 minutes after 12 noon in Surface St. Lucia and the Eastern Caribbean, it has been our second edition of House Guest today, Thursday, the 9th of July, 2026. Mr. Johnson Chalo Simon, immense pleasure, founder, the Yatar Sports Foundation. I'm sure again you would like to continue to let your light shine, and you're that beacon to society. What final commendations, or even to that person to continue to support and fuel that much driven energy that you have, feel free to just
Yeah.
pay recognition to them before you end.
Yeah. Um, like I said earlier, it's not about me. It's just that fortunate for me, I'm in a position to do what I can. My intention is not to remain within the group forever. Hopefully after a while, a committee will take over and take it to the next level, because there's only a limit as to how far you could take certain um, dreams. But in terms of the Yada Foundation, there are so many persons that we have to pay homage to and recognize. Mr. Kazobo is himself, Michael Kazobo. We were fortunate as a community to have had him and grace his presence and all what he did for our community. It's a debt that we did not have time to pay in terms of recognition because of his sudden passing, but we do intend through the foundation to keep his name vibrant and alive within the community, so all generations will know and hear about him. And like I said, he did not do it alone. He had a lot of supporting cast within the SYO, Swift Sports Council, his family, his friends. And within our own organization, we have Mr. Kendall Alexander. I think he's been the supporting cast for me. Very very dedicated in person within the community. He has his own background in sports education. I remember at some point he had a cricket academy. He used to do the little cricket academy. I remember Troy, my nephew, was in there learning how to play cricket. You have Aloysius Sylvester. I think he had one too. Ally, he had a little cricket thing going on. Mr. Regis currently has his little football. He's also on there. So in our team, we have Mr. McHenry, football coach. We have, as I said, Mr. Kendall Alexander. We have Richard Jean, Darrell Thomas, who's also Mr. Yata Kazabo's son. He's helping in there. And in terms of our current event happening this weekend, the supporting team members we have on board is Miss Verna Alexander, as I mentioned earlier. She'll be doing the netball program, and Mr. Kiefer Prosper would be doing the cricket. And also the basketball committee. We're working with them on some details to see how we can make that happen. If I left out anyone, my apologies, but do know that your effort and recognition is well appreciated within our group. And I just want to make a final appeal to everyone to come out on July 18th and 19th at the Fonse Jacques Playing Field and Multipurpose Court for our summer event, Champions Soccer Summer Tournament. We'll have the sports, cricket, football, and netball from 10 a.m. onwards, trophies, prizes, all to be won. Come have a fun time. Bring your children, bring your husbands, your wives, your grandparents, everyone for a fun day in Font Saint Jacques.
8 minutes after the hour, this is where we end today's discussion on House Guest, the 9th of July. Mr. Simon, it's been immense gratitude, and though it's just the commencement of our discussion and updating the public as we continue to keep the Yatar Foundation alive, burning, and blazing. To all those of you who send in your comments, thank you so much. It was well received. We do love and appreciate you. To our listening audience, thank you so much as always. Have a productive one. Stay blessed until next week. We're out.